I'll tell you something else that I carry as well. A large stapler.
What?
A large, not a small one. I used to carry a small one, but I realized it's not as effective as a large stapler.
Why do you carry a large stapler?
That's a good question. I will tell you, my man. I carry a large stapler because it is an offspring of the sewing kit.
Oh.
Sometimes you might have, as they call it in America, what's that thing?
Wardrobe malfunction.
Wardrobe malfunction.
Yes.
Right. So sometimes before you go up on stage, there might be something that will tear. You might split your pants. Forget about trying to get the thread into that needle and trying to sew your pants. Take off your pants, wherever it's torn, staple, and you are up and running.
Oh, this is brilliant!
Seconds.
This is brilliant!
Stapler.
I've been doing this career for 30 years. I'd never thought of that. That is so good. Like, that's going in my bag. That's going in my bag.
Please.
Today I am interviewing Rico Smith, MC extraordinaire based in Singapore but works all over the world. I knew him back in the day in Singapore. Alright Rico, let's go and have a chat to you, my friend.
Did you start as a DJ? How did you get into this amazingly unusual career?
Back in 86, 87, a good buddy of mine.
Whoa, 86, 87. That's similar to me when I got started.
We're going way back. So a guy named Max Dawn. A lot of the good old people would know him. So he used to do a lot of gigs, house parties, and in hotels and stuff. So I used to watch him, and it was my first introduction to this turntable called the Technics SL1200, which is the amazing turntable that DJs use. Yeah. So I'm like wondering, how does this turntable work and all that? So 88, I went for a course, and after that I became a DJ. And I've been a DJ on the side from then all the way till now. But my main focus, my main job is I'm an MC. So I tell people I'm an MC by profession, but a DJ by, passion.
Was DJing the first thing before you became an MC? DJing was...
Oh yeah, for sure.
So let's give a shout out. The guy's name is Max Dawn, is that right?
Max Dawn, that's right.
How do you spell that?
M-A-X-D-O-N, second name Dawn, D-O-N.
Max Dawn. And he's Singaporean?
He's a Singaporean. He started out DJing back in the early 80s, 83, 84. I met him in 85.
How did you meet him?
Well, through friends. We used to go out. We used to go to gigs, and before the gig started, I'd be intrigued by all this equipment.
Yeah.
This was way back in 85, before I even started. I'm like, wow, look at these speakers. What's this huge speaker? That's a sub bass for the low frequency. So it was a nice little path that led me into what I'm doing right now. So baby steps we took, and we'll come to how I became an MC when you're ready to ask me that question later on.
Well, let's go back to the beginning then. So you're Singaporean, born and bred in Singapore. Brothers and sisters?
Yep. So I have got altogether 8 siblings. So I'm number 8. I'm number 8.
Oh, you're the baby.
So mom and dad, I guess they didn't have much home entertainment system back then. So I'm number 8 of the whole lot. So I've got 5 brothers and 3 sisters. Well, 4 brothers and 3 sisters. So I'm right there at the end. I might have made a mistake. I don't know, man.
What was it like growing up in such a big family?
Yeah, it was amazing. We always had fun in the house, and you always had people in the house. There was never a dull moment. We weren't well-to-do.
Yeah.
We were not rich or whatever, but we had a nice life. It was a nice, comfortable life we grew up. I didn't have, all the things that I wanted, but as you go along, you accumulate these things.
Yeah, and as a kid, were you into performing or being on stage? Did that start early?
Not at all. Not at all.
No.
Completely. I had, even when I had to go up on stage to get a primary school, to get a little award or whatever it is, some coloring contest, just to get up on that stage, I'm like, forget it. Can you go for me, Mom?
Yeah.
Or I'll tell my brother. So, and then a couple of times they had to escort me because I had stage fright. Keeping in mind, I wasn't an MC first. I was a DJ first.
Yeah.
So being behind the console was very comfortable.
Yeah.
You were behind something. You were behind the decks. You were behind the mixer. So I had stage fright, for sure.
So you're into DJing. You
Yep.
meet Max
Yep.
Don. You
Max Don.
take a course.
Then I took a course. Well, it was basically a friend who was just giving some quick lessons and all that.
Right.
So you could call it a course. So you can't just be a DJ. You would need to know exactly, how to put the beats together, how to count the bars in the song. So yeah, there is a little bit of work involved. So a lot of people think the guy standing behind the console, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, he's just spinning the platters. That's easy. It's very, very technical. Let me tell you, that's for sure. Yeah.
I mean, and just to jump ahead very quickly, you were a radio DJ for about 5 years, weren't you?
Yep, that was so jumping ahead.
No,
into
we'll get to that in a minute. Yeah,
Okay.
so you are the real deal.
Right. So the journey was, so after I became a DJ back in '88, I was still studying back then, doing all right in school, but I found a different path. And then I went into the army in '89. As you know, in Singapore here, every able male, you've got to do the army. You've got to spend 2 years.
National service.
National service. So in the army, I met a couple of guys who were already doing mobile discos.
Ah.
And I told them, I know all the music. I'm in love with music. I just need the opportunity. So a couple of guys gave me the opportunity. And we were like paid back then $50.
That's 50 Singapore bucks. That's not much. That's not US dollars.
That's not much. But back then, you could make do with it. Things were not expensive back in the day.
Yeah.
So back in the day, let's say if you were paid $50, it would be the equivalent of today's about $100.
Yeah.
Based on how things have appreciated. So during my army and whatnot, I started doing mobile discos, backing up other MCs. So you take a look and see exactly how an MC would run the show. So now here's a life-changing moment, is what I would call it. And I can tell you exactly when it was. It was in December 1990.
1990?
Now, 1990, and I'll tell you why I remember that date so well. You know exactly how December is and how everybody's so busy.
Yeah, that's
correct?
Right. Lots of parties, lots of events.
Lots of parties,
Massive.
almost back to back, almost every day.
Yeah.
Now, one of the Fridays I remember, somewhere in December. So I'm the DJ. It was 7:30. So I'm playing the nice chill out tunes, nice and easy. People are coming in, slowly strolling in. Only for about 80 people, from what I remember. Now the MC appointed for the night, he had not shown up yet.
Okay.
At 7:30, and on stage is like 7:50. The MC is supposed to go up to invite the managing director.
Yeah.
7:30. So the guy who's organizing the event, he's running up and down. Back in the days of pager, remember we used to have pager?
I
There was
remember
no mobile
pagers.
phone?
Yeah.
He would go out and he would page 999 means emergency. Quickly call me right now.
Yeah.
So he made an executive decision. Check this out. At 7:40.
Yeah.
Okay? If that MC doesn't turn up in the next 3 or 4 minutes,
Yeah.
you are going on stage and you're going to start the show.
Rico Smith is going to be the MC?
The DJ for the night has to go on stage to kick off the show, and the guy who's running the event, the EO, is going to be the DJ. That's how versatile we were back then.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. So the EO could DJ. I've never been on stage.
Yeah.
Sometimes in life, when you are placed in a situation where you cannot say no,
Yeah.
you build up that adrenaline pumps, and you say, you know what? If I don't do this, this guy is going to get sued, and and basically it's going to be really horrible. So you know what? I said, you're on. I said, I don't really know how to do this, but at least I know how to go up on stage. I've seen the rest of the MCs. I will kind of, make my own. I would know what to do. He said, on. So, cut it short, that MC did not turn up. I was on stage, did the formalities of whatever it is I knew back then, played fun and games, really simple games. Back then, people were not demanding, really, as they are today. Simple games, drinking contests and stuff, dancing games. And you know what? We got by. So here's the thing. At the end of the night, instead of receiving a check that says $50, I received a check of $300.
Ooh.
Which is exactly. And a guy being in the army receiving a check of $300, man, that's quite a bit.
Yeah.
So on the way back after that gig, I thought to myself, I think I can do this.
Yeah.
So being placed in so that's why I said sometimes being placed in a situation where you really can't say no and you just go ahead and do it. And from then on, the guy who was running the event, he says, you know what, you did not really do a good job, but you did an all right job.
Yeah.
And he says, I'll start selling you for smaller gigs. How's that? I said, on. We are on.
Yeah.
And that was my launch pad to being an MC.
That's so true.
How cool is that?
You know, if you don't have time to be... If someone books you like a month in advance for something, for a new event, you have a month to get terrified and stressed. If someone says, in 5 minutes time, go on stage. 3 minutes. 3 minutes. You've got no time. You just go and do it. Yeah.
Come, you are on. You are live.
Yeah.
How? You know, in a situation like that, everything goes out of the window, and you tell yourself, I got to do this.
And you had at least been the DJ and watched other MCs, so you had an idea of the kind of games you could play.
Yep. So I wouldn't, at that point, you know, honestly, I copied certain styles. You know, you had to do, it was survival at that point in time. You had to do what other MCs were doing.
Oh, quickly, just give a shout out to some of the MCs.
Yeah.
Who were the people who influenced you then? Who
Oh, man.
apart from...
Oh, I got...
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Shout out to my main man, Mo Alkaf.
Yes, Mo, I've got to interview him one day.
He's really the godfather for me.
Yes.
In event. He is a one-stop shop for everything on stage.
Yeah, I've seen him do juggling, I've seen him do magic, I've seen him do MCing.
Everything. Jafar Alkaf, which is his cousin, Jafar for sure.
Yeah.
The man with the golden voice, Nigel Mossbergen.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, but I respect him for the voice.
Yes.
Really, he had that God's gift. Other people, you know, back then were still around today. Mark Van Cullenberg, Mark V, Flying Dutchman.
Yeah, oh, yes.
You know, and you know, there's quite a few, and the list just goes on. Adam M, one guy I like to plug in. You know, so there's quite a few. So yeah, but the guy number one on the list, I gotta say, Mo Alkaf, because I was backing him up as well.
And if I remember, because I arrived in Singapore in 1994, and the style then was still, when they had a shopping centre or a corporate event, the style was definitely fun and games. And the MC would go on stage, make a lot of noise, get the crowd cheering, bring the people on stage, and play silly, funny games. Was that the style back then?
Silly is the word, for sure.
Yeah.
Sadly, what we used to do back then, not really happening anymore. The whole game has evolved.
Exactly,
if you're talking about shopping centers, you know, back in the day, people used to come. We used to pull people into a shopping center, and like what you mentioned, there'd be a stage, there'd be fun and games. But you know what? Now, because a lot of people over the years have complained, you know, when this happens, it disrupts our business. I'm talking about other shops.
Yes, I understand. I'm well aware of this. I mean, since then, and then we're talking about 2 decades ago, and after a while, the shops realised that it was just too noisy. They couldn't talk to their customers because just about 50 metres away, there was an MC shouting and screaming, and people were jumping and dancing, and there was so much noise.
Correct, exactly. So these people have complained over the years, so a lot of malls have said, you know what, okay, if you want to have an event like this, so we call it road shows, basically.
Yeah.
You know, it's got to be a little bit more quiet. If you want to have a basic, maybe just an MC on the mic, and they'll come and do a decibel control. They'll see, okay, you know, before the show starts, okay, start talking, and they'll say, okay, you got to go lower. And basically, it's only in that area. I feel a lot of these places have lost the magic because, one is, let's say if you have a road show like that in the mall, in the atrium, it pulls people from all over, and don't the people realize that we are generating business for them? These people are going to go to food courts. They're going to say, hey, you know what else is in this building? Let's go take a look. So I would say these people really kill themselves, man.
Yeah, I mean, it was really, really good fun. You'd hear the MC from outside the shopping centre. You'd hear people screaming, and you'd hear games, and there'd be breaks where magicians or unicyclists like me would come under a half-hour stage show. It was so much fun. But I guess, you know, no form of stage entertainment lasts forever. I remember like in 100 years ago, vaudeville in theatres in America, big circus shows in theatres. No more. So things changed, but it was a great time in the 1990s in Singapore. Really
It was. So it has evolved into, you know, other things. So the road shows are still there, but nowadays you hardly get an MC. Once in a while you might, and then a DJ. But because now the copyright rule here is very, very strict.
That's another thing that's changed as well. I mean, back in the day, you could play any music you liked and no one cared.
Michael Jackson, play. You could play the Police, Madonna, whatever. You know.
Yeah.
There was not much licensing. There was no body going around and says, hey, have you got the license for this? Have you got the license for that? So it was great. So now, you know, I understand, you know, it's all about copyrights, you know, and, you know, registered work that's being basically broadcast. So you need that copyright. So a lot of these people, what happened, some of them will pay for it. So you might get a DJ playing music, but you got to pay quite a bit.
Yes.
So when the client hears, look, in order for me to play music, I need a sound system, and it's going to cost me so much for the copyright, and if I need an MC and whatnot, oh, forget about the whole thing. I'll just have a road show and just salespeople running around. Yeah.
Well, let's go back. Let's go back to those good old days. So you started MCing because you were just asked to go on stage with 3 minutes time. The guy said, you did a good enough job, I'm going to put you on some more events. And I think, if I'm right, at that time in the early 90s, there were lots of events. It was booming.
It was booming okay, let's talk about November, December. Almost every day there'd be an event.
Yeah.
Compared to now. Now, the reason why things are not as busy now as they were before, couple of things which I will share. One is they've become very, very, I would say, Fridays are more popular than Saturdays. A lot of people will understand that now. So it's become a very, the mindset, if you want to do something, I'll go straight after work, but don't touch me on a Saturday.
Right.
You know? So Saturdays are not as popular as before right now.
It used to be Saturday,
back in the day.
On Saturday, Singaporeans would go to shopping centres. That's what they did on their Saturdays.
Yeah, shopping centres, and they would have their company dinners on that night as well.
Yes.
So there'd be a lot of things going on. So now, the mindset has changed. It's like, I want to do my thing. Don't touch me. You know, so we're talking about dinner and dance.
Yeah.
Talk about that area. And also talking about November, December, it is not as busy as it was back then.
Yeah.
Because one, airfare has become very cheap. Right now. So a lot of people are traveling out during the December period.
Right, yes, that makes sense.
Managing directors, CEOs of companies, back in the day, they were very locally based.
Yes.
And now, all these people are all foreigners. So what happens is, like, example, for last year. So you would go into, let's say, 14th, 15th of December. Then after that, most people will go into a dip. There might be some events here and there, but majority will go into a dip, and you would only surface again maybe about 31st of December and the early part of January, because that is the part where all companies, the bosses are out of town, and they say, you know what, let's not have anything.
I see.
So,
overseas boss takes an overseas vacation.
Yep.
So there's no more big show in the second half of December.
Not at all. Everybody's sitting out at home. In fact, we had all the MCs, we had to get together, and we just had a nice little, makan session, food and drink session is what they call it here in Singapore. Makan,
Wow.
So yeah.
That wouldn't have happened in the 90s. MCs having a night off to chat.
24th December, which is like the eve of Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Hardly any events around.
Hardly anything. Yeah. Times have changed. But let's get into specifics.
Yep.
You're MCing one of these fun, silly events in Singapore at the peak. It's really happening. There's loads of shows.
Yep.
So how did you get the booking? Did you get it through agents or did clients come to you?
Well, it's always through agents. So what we used to do back in the day, we would record videos. You tell a friend, and back then it's the real huge video camera.
That's right.
Remember back in the day?
And the VHS videotape.
The VHS videotape. So you would take note of which event you were being recorded.
Yeah.
So then, maybe like after 6 months or a year after that, you would go back to all these companies and you would say, hey, you know what, can I get a clip of this particular event?
Yeah.
And you would accumulate all the clips and you would come up with a promo video.
Yeah.
So we used to send out, literally go to all these companies and say, hey, you know what, here's my VHS.
I did the same. Yeah, I had a VHS videotape. I'd copy it and give it to different event companies.
Exactly. Along with it, you would have you'd print out your profile,
Yeah.
and we would take physical snapshots of gigs, and you'd just paste on a blank piece of paper.
That's right.
3 or 4.
You'd have actual photographs from a Nikon camera, maybe Nikon film, printed at the shop.
That's
and
the
stick
one.
it on a piece of paper.
Like each picture, you'd print probably about 30 or 40.
Yeah.
You know, and you would have like maybe about 7 or 8 of the best pics that you have,
Yeah.
and you paste it on these things, and you send it out. And
I
that was how it was
remember.
done.
So that's how you got the gig. And then on the day of the gig, was there any rehearsal for you? Did you have to, or did you just turn up and do it?
There would be usually the train of events, the chain of events would be, you know, you get the confirmation.
Yes.
Right. So once that
By
is done,
fax,
and then
right? By fax.
by fax, yes. Oh my God, fax.
Young kids won't know what we're talking about.
By fax or by a call, and then you mark it down in your little file of fax back in the day. Remember that little diary that you have?
Yeah.
So then there'd be one meeting with the client. So during that meeting, same like today, you know, you discuss what you're going to do, what kind of games you're going to play, the flow of events, and then on the day itself. So, example, the gig is let's say it starts at 7:30.
Yeah.
So I would normally arrive at about 5:30, and you would have one meeting with the banquet manager, with the EO, which is the event organizer, and the client, and you go through the whole flow once again. So make sure everybody's in sync, everybody knows what's happening, and then you'd start the event. Yeah.
Okay.
So. Yeah, so no real rehearsal or whatever. Maybe
What
a
was
sound check here.
What was your favourite way to start an event? Did you have a great favourite crowd warming act or crowd warming game to start?
I would also, back in the day, one of the things that I realized over the years, you know, and which I'll share with all the MCs.
Mm-hmm.
So you would start with if there's budget, normally there's a big opening act, just like the Oscars, just like the Grammys. There's an opening act of some sort, like a dancer or something, and then you come up on stage, you welcome the crowd straight away. Don't forget, a lot of MCs forget this.
Yeah.
In the first 5-10 minutes that the crowd is looking at you, they are already assessing you for the whole night.
Yeah. All right. Yes.
You know, when you go up on stage, so you've got to set the tone for the entire evening in the first 10-15 minutes that they see you.
Crowds are very good at knowing if someone's nervous. And if you go on stage and the first 30 seconds you're nervous, even if later you get more confident, the crowd's not going to be with you.
Climb,
That's right.
Yep. So one thing I realized, so you do the opening, you know, and you rev up the crowd, you know, as you would make some noise here, make some noise there, and certain things, certain games that I do. Then you go into the speech, any formalities. Now, one thing which I will share with MCs, which is I feel is very important, is an icebreaker game.
Okay.
Now, this icebreaker game, so you've already done the early part, which is the introduction, you know, giving them highlights of the whole evening.
Just quickly, to jump in. How did you memorize the things that you're supposed to say? Because there's certain things that you have to say when you introduce the event. Maybe there's certain names or certain titles of people you have to explain. How did you memorize that stuff?
Well, if it's hard facts like a name, awards, that would all be on the little program that we've got. So I will tell the event company, put all the names and whatnot. We don't really need to memorize names. I mean, if you can, why not?
Yeah.
But when you start, you can't be looking at the script. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, exactly.
Welcome. That's it. That's a complete failure. For a fun event, if you have to look at the script, that's it.
Yeah, you don't want to be looking at the script. You want it to be just coming out of your head.
It's all up here.
Yeah.
It's all up here. And it's just got to be flowing because you're communicating with the crowd.
So you've just got to do the hard work. You've got to memorize the important things that you have to say.
Correct. Absolutely. You know, you know exactly what to do in the opening.
Great.
It's all up here. It's
memorized.
Up here.
Okay, hard work.
Exactly.
Okay, so what is your icebreaker?
So icebreaker, back then, it would normally be some kind of a mass dance that I would do. Everybody stand up. You know, simple thing like, you know, half a card, this is back in the day. You know? So find your other half and all that.
Okay, so so everybody's got half a playing card. It's been randomly cut, and they've got to go around the whole ballroom trying to find the matching.
For the fastest 4 couples.
They've got to find the matching half of the card and come on stage and win a prize. The first 4 win a prize. That's a good icebreaker.
That's right. So basically, from a very quiet situation, everybody's sitting down and everybody's looking at each other, looking at the person on stage, which is the MC.
Yeah.
Within a split second after you've announced, you know, it just breaks up into everybody standing up. It becomes like a stock market situation.
Yeah, everybody's running
So that's
around,
what-
chasing
exactly.
everywhere. Yeah, trying to find their matching card.
Yep.
So good. And I miss those days. I was at a corporate event last night,
Yep.
and nowadays in Hong Kong, I don't know what it's like in Singapore, but nowadays they don't have a professional MC. They like to, nowadays companies in Hong Kong like to organise their dinner and dances themselves. So you have
Really?
you have a member of staff on stage doing the announcements, doing the
Oh,
warm up, and it's
no.
very, very quiet. And then they said, and here's Big Ben to do his show, and it's hard for me because in Singapore, when it was time for my show, the MC had already warmed up the crowd was wild. But so
Exactly.
last night I had to go on stage, the crowd was pretty cold, so I had to get them clapping and cheering and doing and jumping in the air before I could even
Right.
get into my show. So I miss those days, and I miss what the
Yeah.
MCs used to do. It was great stuff.
Yep. You know, you're absolutely right. You know, a lot of MCs, including myself, when a show is coming on, we would, like in your case, I remember we did a family day. I would invite, you know what, kids, come on down to the front, have a seat in the front.
Yeah.
You know, I would do things like that. A lot of MCs do that. So you invite the kids to the front, or let's say if it's a dinner and dance, you know, we would rev up the crowd, and then, you know, we invite the talent on stage. Because don't forget, we are sort of the people who connect the entire program together.
That's right.
So if
You're
we
the
make
cement
you look
between the
bad, we look
bricks. You're the cement between
Yeah.
the bricks of the different bits of the show and the events. You've got to hold it all
bad.
together.
Exactly. So that's why engaging a proper MC, a professional MC, is key, really. And you know, sad that what you just mentioned, that these people are doing it on their own. There's nothing wrong with it.
No.
Let me just say that.
Good
There's
luck
nothing
to
wrong
them.
with it. But it's not the same.
It's not the same. No, you're right.
Yeah. You know, it's not the same.
What about
Okay,
your
yeah.
MC personality? You have to make everybody in the crowd like you.
Yeah.
And so, do you have a particular personality, a sort of... okay, what is your persona? That's what I'm saying. What was your
Okay.
persona?
Got it. So before we get to that, the most important thing that any MC would do, what I would do is this. Do you remember I told you there'd be a meeting before the event?
Yeah.
Yep, that one meeting.
Yeah.
So I would get as much information from the client. What kind of what's the profile of the people attending? What does your company do?
Right.
You know, so you get that kind of information, and you know they say half the battle is won when you know the enemy. There's a saying. So I would get as much information during the meeting, and on the day itself, as people are coming in, I'm doing a lot of profiling as well. So what I'm doing is an MC shouldn't just be a cookie cutout that the same character is on stage everywhere. You got to understand one thing: different people have got different mindsets, different mentality, different intelligence level.
Yeah.
You know, so assuming, let's say if I do a production company, I'd be on stage, it'd be a different vibe altogether. You know, I'd be the really fun, crazy kind of guy. But if I'm doing a corporate event, then I will hold all that first, because these people, if they see a guy jumping up and down straight away, they might think, what's up with this guy?
Yes.
Why? So you got to go with the flow first, and you got to read the crowd, and you got to basically invite them into your world.
Yes.
And then you take it from there. So
Right.
it's a lot of profiling before we
Okay.
actually get
A
on
lot
the
of hard
stage.
work before you go on stage.
Yeah, of course.
So you have an idea of what to expect. Of course, your prediction might be slightly wrong, but you've done some homework. You kind of have an idea of how you can present yourself and how you can
Exactly.
make contact
Right.
with those people.
Agreed. So all that is done. So remember earlier on I told you about the opening for the MC, and then later on is the icebreaker.
Yes.
So in that 10 minutes, the two parties involved, which is the crowd, the audience, and the MC. So both of us are assessing each other.
Yeah.
That's what's going on.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the crowd. I'm throwing jokes, and I'm watching, and you know, is this going to be an easy crowd, or is this going to be a little tough? Because some people are tough, some people are easy, as you know, in show business. That's how it is.
Do you have any favourite jokes that you used to do back in the day?
It will just come on the fly.
On the fly?
Things like, well, there's one that I normally throw in. You know, it's like you've got an amazing mustache right there.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I look at the crowd and says, you know what? I love this guy because he can kiss his girlfriend and brush his teeth at the same time.
Yeah, it's just simple, very visual stuff.
You know, so the crowd goes crazy. So a lot of things that we do, you know, it's all ad-lib, and it just comes, and it comes with experience, really. You know.
And that sort of
So
stuff, it's almost like being a stand-up comedian, that sort of stuff. Talking, interacting with the crowd and having fun, making fun,
Right.
seeing a guy with a moustache, having a
Right.
joke that you could say about moustaches. It's almost like
Right.
being a stand-up comedian, that part.
You know what? One thing I've realized now, a couple of things. Now, I'm an MC and I'm based in Singapore. Okay? But I do quite a bit of work around the region and in Europe and in
I've
the
seen
Middle
your
East as well.
profile, my goodness. Let me just flicker
Yeah.
here. Look at this.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
got
So I've done events in every
France,
Southeast
Turkey,
Asian
Jordan,
country,
Australia, Cyprus, Hong Kong, Egypt, to name just a few. Wow.
to name just a few. Yeah, Paris. I've actually hosted an event in Paris Disneyland. How cool is
But
that?
aren't there problems with the language when you and the culture? You wouldn't be able to adapt fast enough.
Well, that was for an incentive group from Middle East. So there's one or two companies that work from Dubai, and they sell packages in that region.
Right.
So South Africa,
Yeah.
Egypt, Tunisia, and into Europe. So it normally is they're English-speaking crowd. So
Right.
easy. Yeah. So from
But
Dubai,
nevertheless, there will be a different sense of humour because the Singapore sense of humour was very broad, very slapstick. You could make fun of somebody's moustache, whereas maybe in another culture, they might find that quite offensive. So there are things you'd have to check working in another country, I guess.
Agreed. And an MC and a comedian, we are always walking that fine line. You know, how funny you are depends on that line, and you do not want to trip. So what you just mentioned is exactly what I was getting at. So the fact that I've been to all these various countries, so I know what kind of culture they have. There are certain things you don't mention if you're dealing with that kind of crowd.
Can you tell me? Give me a specific. Like, if you're in this country, don't say this. If you're in this country, you can say this.
If you're dealing with let's say, you know, an Indian crowd, you know, you never mention anything about a cow because
That's
the cow
right.
is a sacred animal.
Yeah.
You need to know this.
But I
you
do
know.
find that Indian crowds will party and dance like mad,
Oh, of course, they're crazy.
more than a
They
Chinese
are-
crowd.
When you look at the crowd, Filipinos, they
Dance.
are party central.
That's right.
You know, if you get Aussies, party central.
Yeah.
Indians, if you want to do a Bollywood dance or you do any kind of dance, you know,
Yeah.
they're really, really fun people.
Yeah.
You know, so basically before the event, you would really target. Okay, I've got this game to play. You know, I'll target this guy for this game. I've got this game to play. I think that guy would do very well.
Oh, you
So
would.
we are really doing.
So when,
Yeah,
when, would-
yeah,
when you would do this, so you're on stage, you've already started the show, but you're actually looking at the crowd to see who would be the best kind of volunteer for your games.
Yep. Because everything is being assessed in that first 10 minutes of the show.
Yeah.
So I'm already looking. So when you have
But
a
then,
guy,
but then you'll
who's
you'll
going,
need,
"Yay!"
but then you'll need to have the house lights up so you can actually see the crowd at that point.
So rule of the thumb for me, when I go up on stage, I would love to see the crowd as well.
Yes.
Because
yes.
I need to see the reaction
This is something I want to talk about very quickly.
Yeah.
It's very interesting because a show, the audience will laugh more, I find, if the audience is in darkness and the performer is on stage in light, like in a theatre.
Yep.
But if you're doing crowd work like an MC, there has to be a point of the show where the house lights have to be up so you can see the crowd and you can see which table's laughing the most, which guy is going to be fantastic on stage. Because if you don't know and you make an on-the-spot choice and you pick the wrong guy, the stage game will die because the guy doesn't want to be on stage.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't even want to come. Maybe he doesn't even want to come up onto stage. And then if he says no, the next person will say no. The next person will say no, and in 30 seconds, nobody will want to come on stage. So the lighting. How did you control the lighting to get to get the information you needed? You would start the show with the house lights up so you could see the crowd.
Yep. So the rule of the thumb is I would tell the EO, which is the event organizer, whenever I'm on stage, the ballroom lights need to be of a certain level. The stage can be, whatever, 100%.
Yes.
But at least the floor needs to be at least 50%. Nothing less than that.
Right. You'd say that.
Yep. So
this is great.
so
I love this technical stuff, because who would have thought of that? Other than an MC who's done it for 20 years. Or you probably find out in the first year. That's what you need.
27 actually.
Wow.
Yeah, so simple things like that. It really matters, because you want to see the reaction of the crowd. So if you see a guy who's seated like that.
Okay, no one can see you. No one can see Rico right now because this is an audio podcast. But if you see a guy with his arms crossed, a stern expression on his face, you're going to say he's not going to be a good volunteer.
Yeah. Agreed.
But,
so if you see a guy, who's got his hands up in the air, kind of thing.
Yeah, he's jumping and cheering.
He's a winner.
Yeah,
he is a winner.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Sure.
That's right.
And one of the things that I normally do is, let's say I go to a table, so they're all normally seated in a table of 10. Just like how the Chinese style dinner.
A big round table of 10, yes.
Correct. So I would go to a table and say, hey, how's everybody doing over here? Then you would get some form of reaction. Some would say yeah, some would say nothing. And then you say, I need to pick someone from this table. Yeah. So what I want you to do is, I'm going to go 3, 2, 1, and I want you to point to a person.
Okay, I just lost the audio there for a second. I'll just repeat. Okay. So you go to the table and you say, I want to pick someone from this table, and then I'm going to go 3, 2, 1, and what do they do?
So when I go 3, 2, 1, all of you, I want you to point to that person you think who should be on stage.
Oh, this is brilliant. 3, 2, 1,
go!
Yes.
And you see 5 or 8 people pointing at one particular guy, and he's like, oh man, it's
that's
me.
lovely.
Come on.
That's really
and you
good.
know what? So here's the thing. I'm playing mind game. What I'm doing now is I'm telling the good people at that table, pick a person for me.
Yeah.
Usually a person, and this is something that I've learned over the years, usually a person wants to go on stage, but he's not too sure if it's going to work out.
Yeah.
If you give that person encouragement, he or she will go up on stage.
Yeah.
So it's like, would you like him to go up on stage, or would you like her to go up on stage? Everybody's, yeah, come on. And then the person's like, okay, everybody's cheering for me. All right.
Yeah,
I've got the support of everybody. I'll go up.
Yes, they can't really not go on stage. All their friends have nominated him. He'll go, oh, okay, and he'll go on stage.
Yeah. And then so I've got 9 people now, plus myself, and say, come on, you can do it. Come on, let's give him a big round of applause. Yeah. So then you get everybody into it. So
I like
so
that.
Basically, you get it's not just me, the MC, and like what you say. Oh, I can't get people. That was when I started.
Yes.
There was a situation whereby, like what you said, this guy, would you like to come up on stage? No. Okay. How about this guy? Come up on stage? No. Okay. And then 3, 4 guys say, one thing is, this is becoming a game itself.
Yeah, because it's just psychology. Once one person says no, the next person says no, the third person says no, then everybody's going to say no. They're like, oh yeah, it's obviously not a good idea to come on stage. I don't want to come on stage either. And then you've got an uphill struggle to finish the night because nobody wants to volunteer.
Yeah. So you learn as you go along. You pick up different ideas, and you develop yourself. And so it's ideas and experience. That's what goes into being a good MC.
Okay, so you've got some volunteers on stage. Let's talk about one of your favourite big stage games that you would play with the volunteers.
Okay.
Do you have a favourite from those days?
So there's one game that I always have to play, I must play, because this game has taken me places, really.
Oh.
It's not my game. Right. It's not something that I came up with.
Well, we stand on the shoulders of giants. People have done everything's been done before.
Of course. Yeah. So, but here's the thing: you don't copy as an MC. You can take an idea of a game, and you can develop it into your style. So, example, my ace game is the Battle of the Bands, and a lot of people know this.
All right.
Now, what it is a lot of people back in the day, they used to use brooms as guitars, they used to use mops, and they used to use plungers as microphones, which is fun.
Yeah.
But then I thought, you know what? There are these inflatables, so why not use inflatables? So inflatable guitars to really make it look like the real thing.
Okay.
So I use a lot of props in my show.
And that's a good prop to take, isn't it? An inflatable one, because pack small, plays big. It's
blow
tiny,
it up and boom, and
then you blow it up, and then it's a big inflatable guitar. But it's transportable. We're going to talk about transport later, but that's a good issue. It's pack small, plays big. So you've got inflatable instruments, and you bring up volunteers.
And you know what? And I recreate like a Bon Jovi live in concert on stage. and the crowd goes wild. And what happens is it just starts with 8 people, so you got 2 teams, 4-4, and then later on I get the audience into the act as well, and I really make that ballroom into a capacity crowd of 50,000 people.
So tell me, what actually is the game then? Do they take turns pretending to be a rock band?
So basically, yeah, so a drummer, a sound check of the drums, what you're supposed to do, bass guitar, lead guitar, and then I'll put on a wig for John Bon Jovi. It's in the video clip if anybody wants to see it. Just go to my website.
There we are. Give us your website. Give us your website name.
Yeah, you can go to www.show-host.com. The videos are there. You can see it for yourself, and you can really feel the energy.
Oh,
so the first team would play to 1 minute, and I've cut the song to just 1 minute. You don't want to stretch it too long.
Yeah.
So 1 minute of It's My Life, and they'll dance and sing, go crazy. The crowd would get involved. I'll bring them in front, and then the next band will do the similar thing, and then we'll see which band does it the best. So that whole game, it's about maximum is about 20-25 minutes.
Whoa!
You don't feel as if it's 25 minutes because it just goes.
25 minutes. That's amazing.
25 minutes.
So you get the guys on stage. First of all, you give them inflatable instruments, and do you?
But there's a lot of banter in between. I'll explain things. I'll explain what the concert is about.
Yeah.
What a guitarist needs to do. What a bassist needs to do. What's the difference? So
and when you're explaining, do you have specific music cues? So like, this is what the drummer does. You get the inflatable drum, and you pretend to bang it, and there's sound effects of drumming, and
in
then
the
you give it to.
You'd hear sound, the 10 second.
And then you give it to the
sound.
And then you give it to the volunteer. He has a go, and you could play the sound effect again, or you could play the sound effect wrongly. Say no, you're not doing it well enough. That kind of stuff. Is that the kind of things you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
How do you control the sound cues though? You've got to have a good relationship with the sound guy.
Now that is a whole different topic altogether, which we'll discuss right now.
Yeah, because in order to play these games, you've got to be a partnership. It's not a one-man show anymore, is it?
It is not. It is not. So you would need a very good DJ who knows exactly what you're going to do.
Yes.
Before you're even going to do it. So I would have the meeting with the client and all that at 5:30.
Yeah.
Then when the DJ comes, he would normally come at about 6 o'clock, and then we would go through the program with the DJ. So I try to use people who've already seen my show. They know the routine, and they know exactly what sound effects to put in when. And then, so I'll just tell him we're going to play this game, and he knows exactly what it is. So
you would choose the DJ. You would say, this is the DJ I want to use.
Yeah, so I would give him, this is done way back, so the DJs already have all my music cues, and they'll know exactly what to play.
Right. Yeah. So you had relationships with specific DJs, and you'd get the event, and you'd call the DJ, say, hey, can you DJ this event with me and play the games that I like? And he'd say yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. So my focus is only on the audience because I know the DJ has got my back.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It's not like, I'm looking at the audience, are you ready with the music?
No.
Okay, don't forget, it's track number 1, you got it? All right. I don't even need to do that. And what's interesting is after the event, some people come up to me and they say, it's amazing how whatever you do and the sound comes out. How do you all do that? But it takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of work. So what seems so simple to the audience, it's like, wow, how you guys do this?
Yeah. It is like magic when it works. Yeah.
It's magic. It's amazing. Yeah.
Just quickly, have there ever been any times when it hasn't worked, when things have gone wrong? I love to get a good disaster story. Shall I tell you some of my disaster stories to get you warmed up? I had a week. I'll tell you one. Okay, I had a weekend that was really, really tough. And talking about, right back at the start of the podcast, you said you had 3 minutes before stage to go on and be an MC for the first time.
Yep.
Well, I had my first corporate stage show for ages, maybe a year or two, because I just don't get that kind of event anymore. In Hong Kong, mainly the market is birthday parties, which is fine, which is great. I love it.
Right.
But back in the day, I used to do a corporate stage show in Singapore, and I got quite good at it. And but someone called me up to do it in Hong Kong. So I said, yeah, I'd love to do it. I really enjoy the show. I think it's a really good show that I do. But I haven't done it really. I can't remember when I did it last. Maybe it might be 2 years since I've done it, or 3 years. I don't know. Time flies when you get old. So I'm a bit nervous. That's in the back of my mind the whole weekend. that event was yesterday on Monday, and on Friday I've got my weekend of birthday parties and events to do. And as I'm getting ready on Friday night for my shows, I use an iPod. Oh, we're talking about music. So I don't have a sound guy, because I'm just a small one-man act. So when I turn up to like a birthday party or even some sort of stage show in a mall or on an event, I often bring along my own little speaker and my own iPod. Now iPods, I still think of them as modern, but you can't buy them anymore. They're already out of date. People use their phones. And on Friday, I realised that my iPod wasn't working. It's like, oh no, it's not working. And I really like to have music. And my show is based to music, which again has become a problem because of copyright. Back in the day, it was no problem at all. So I've got to try and work on a show with copyright-free music. Anyway, so my iPod's not working. I'm like, oh, what can I do? And then I have a brainwave. My kids have got old iPhones. And an iPhone's basically the same as an iPod. It has. So I take that iPhone, and I plug it into iTunes, and I download my playlists, and this iPhone works. So I take that. So that's the first bit of stress handled, but it's still quite stressful because I know I've got this corporate show at the end of the long weekend. So on the Saturday morning, I'm all packed. I've got the iPhone. I've packed my stuff for my shows. It's a busy day of shows, and as I leave the house, I think, I better. Check I've got my keys, because I don't want to shut the front door and not be able to get back in again. Because I'm feeling a bit neurotic. I'm kind of double checking myself. And as I swing around to check if I've got my keys, I have got my keys. I put my keys back in my bag, and I swing around and shut the door. And this is as I'm going to get the taxi, right? I'm on my way to the show. There's no more free time. As I swing around, because I've just checked my keys quickly, I hadn't quite closed up the bag on my back, and as I swung around, my wallet fell out, no problem, but then my phone fell out, and it went smash on the ground, and I picked it up. I'm sure it's okay, I've dropped it many times, and the screen was blank. The screen was blank, it wouldn't work. And then and then absolute panic, because nowadays we rely on our phones. It's got my diary, it's got my contacts, it's got everything. So, I'm thinking, my first thought is, I've got to go back in the house and print out from my computer my day's diary and contacts. But then I think if I do that, I might not have time to get to the first show.
Yeah.
Then I think, okay, I think I can remember in my head where I've got to go today. Sure, no one's going to be able to phone me, or if they phone me, I might not be able to reply. But I think I can get to the shows just from memory, and that's what I've got to do because I've got no time. So I pick up my bag, and I go and get in the taxi, and I say to him, "We're going to," and I remember the address, and I go there, and I get through the day like this. We're going to. No. Then I get to the first show. And I can't find my microphone.
Oh God!
Now I'm a children's party entertainer, like I said in Hong Kong. That's mainly the business I do now.
Right.
So I can do a birthday party just using my voice. It's just quite tiring. I prefer to use a microphone. Otherwise you're shouting for 3-4 hours for 3 or 4 shows, and your voice gets sore. So I have to just do the. I have to do the show vocal. I've got music playing because I've got the iPhone connected to my little speaker. But I haven't got a microphone, so I'm just using, I'm just talking, or shouting. I'm trying to be an actor and project my voice, okay? I'm remembering things I learned back at secondary school when I was on stage in school plays. So I'm doing that, and I just about get through the day. And what happened next? Something else went wrong. I can't remember what it was. But something else, I'll probably come back to it and remember. So I get through the day, I do the next day again, and I borrow another iPhone, and put my diary onto that, so at least I've got a phone that works. But except I'm a Samsung guy, unfortunately, so I don't really know how to use the iPhone. So the Sunday's a bit tricky, but at least people can phone me, and at least I've got a diary on a phone. So I get through that day, and then I get to the Monday, and luckily I've got some shows at a carnival where I can pretty much do anything I want. The boss is very, very relaxed. So I thought, what I'm going to do at the carnival in the daytime is I'm going to do my corporate show for this family crowd. And I got to do it 3 times. So even though I hadn't done it for 3 years, or however many years it was, after doing it 3 times, I'd kind of remembered how it works. And then I got to the final show last night, and it went fine. It wasn't perfect, but it was pretty good. I made a few mistakes about volunteers. I'd forgotten how important it is to maybe pre-pick your volunteers. The first volunteer I did pre-pick. I was checking out before the show, and I saw one guy dressed in a ridiculous costume making lots of noise. I knew he'd be great. The second set of volunteers, I saw there was a noisy table, but I didn't do what you did. I didn't do the thing like ask everybody to point to the right volunteer. Yeah. I just picked a guy at random for the noisy table, thinking everybody'd be great on that table, but he wasn't that good. He was the quiet guy on that table, so that wasn't so good. But then luckily the third guy, his name was King Kong. How could you go wrong? The guy's name is King Kong, and everybody had been shouting his name, so he was a great final volunteer, so I got through the show okay. So what were we talking about? Were we talking about technical stuff?
Things that
go wrong.
Show and all.
Yeah, things that go wrong.
A couple of things I can remember. One is playing a game. Remember the Battle of Bands we were discussing earlier? You've got the drums, bass guitar, lead guitar. And the guy, he triggers the wrong sound.
Oh no.
Murphy's Law, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen, as they say. So I'm seated, I'm building it up. I say, okay, the drummer, very important guy, blah, blah. So you gotta go 1, 2, 3, 4, and you gotta just let it rip. So here goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and I hear this bass guitar coming out.
You're playing the drums, you hear the bass guitar.
And 800 people in front of me watching, and you know what? In a situation like this, you don't want to slam the DJ or whatever. You just got to turn it around and say, hey, I think you've been having a little too many drinks, man. And the crowd gets another laughter there.
Yes.
So it's it's a job of the DJ to cover up as well, and likewise for the MC to cover up wherever possible.
I think this is a really important tip. I mean, things will always go wrong. In fact, often the whole night is a series of mistakes. But as long as you work with the mistakes and enjoy what's happening, you can make the night work perfectly.
Yeah, exactly. You can plan everything, but on the day itself, what can you do?
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I can remember. The other thing is, what can I remember? Oh yeah, so similar situation. I'm going to play a game, right? So the crowd's laughing. It was an amazing crowd. Everybody's laughing. Everybody's having a good time. People on stage, they're all set to go. And then I go, okay, 3, 2, 1, music. And the DJ, he's just standing there with his arms folded, laughing with everybody else.
Oh no!
So he's enjoying the show along with the crowd.
Oh, you were too good.
He forgot to prepare that piece of music that was required.
Oh no!
And then I look around again and I say, okay, we'll try that one. So again, you try to cover up.
Yeah.
And then you say, you know what, we'll try that once again, because I think the crowd is not ready yet. Crowd, maybe you want to give them a big round of applause. So now I'm buying time. I'm buying another 5 seconds for the DJ to find that track and load it up and get himself ready.
Yeah.
So we buy time. I think you know what, you guys are not ready for it yet. How about a bigger round of applause? Yay! And 3, 2, 1, and finally it comes on.
Oh my God.
But that moment, then you turn around to see why the music hasn't come on, and the DJ is standing arms folded, laughing with everybody else.
Do you have do you have an emergency game? Something that you can do that doesn't require a DJ, that requires minimal setup, something that you can just do just to cover those moments of disaster? Like I always carry a thumb tip, a magician's plastic thumb tip. So if everything else goes wrong, I can take this plastic thumb tip out of my pocket with the handkerchief and do something with a volunteer for 5 or 10 minutes. So give people a chance to get things sorted out backstage, music cues or lighting or something. Do you have something, a backup, that doesn't even require?
Of course. I mean, one thing you got to understand when you're on stage, it's a live event.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as cut and we'll try that again.
Yeah.
So always expect the unexpected. So what you just mentioned, let's say it has happened, something goes wrong, the music doesn't come on, the laptop crash.
Yeah.
And the guy needs like 10 minutes to reboot and all that jazz.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I do have games whereby that doesn't require music. So you come up on stage. It's a case of it's an acting game that you do. So I've got a script, and then I will show them exactly how it's done, and I will do the sound effects on my own. You know,
the microphone.
The microphone.
Bang. Yeah.
So you know, you enter a club and the music's playing, and I'll go
Yeah.
and you're dancing along. And so it's like a skit. So a skit, you don't need the music.
That's right. That's
So I
perfect.
do
I've seen
a lot of
some really
things.
good
Yeah.
skits. So basically, you've got the volunteers on stage. All you need is the microphone, and you say you've got some sort of storyline, and then you act out what one guy has to do, and you do the sound effects. Then he has to do it, and you build up the skit. Yes.
Exactly. And then so sometimes I will show them the effects, and then I'll tell another guy. So now it's your turn to do those same effects.
Oh,
and,
lovely.
And he'll make a blunder out of it, and you get an even bigger laugh.
Oh, that's great. So you've got one guy supposed to be doing the effects on the microphone, the sound effects, and another volunteer supposed to be doing the acting out, and it just looks hilarious.
Exactly.
Yes. Oh, lovely.
So yeah, so all these
Did you have
things,
a favourite
things-
storyline or a favourite plot in your head that you used to do?
Um,
I used to
usually-
do one with what did I ever do? I would just do dating, a guy getting ready for a date, or a guy proposing to a girl, and then eventually choosing to marry a guy instead, something like that.
Yeah. The one that I've got is, you know, you've got this amazing looking girl. So you give her a feather boa.
Yeah.
And she's seated in a club.
Yeah.
And it's really early, and she's looking at the watch.
Yeah.
And then the guy, this stud comes in. So I would do a lot of the sound effects on my own. You know, giving music through. I do a bit of beatboxing, whatever I need to do effects, and then he goes and meets her, and then there's a little conversation that happens. There's this Chinese opera that I do as well.
Really?
You know. Yeah. So it's you know, you wake up from the sleep, you go into this Tai Chi movement of sorts, and then he sees this beautiful lady, and then in Chinese you go, "Oh, Lucy down," which means "Who are you?" And she goes, "Wah, wah, si ah wah." Her name is Ah Hui. So that's a nice little skit there. You know how it's like the Titanic, but the Chinese opera version of it.
Yeah,
You know?
that's great.
So yes. So there's a lot of these things that we do. So and we incorporate into the event when required. So over the years, I've got a book of games, and so all my A's games. So we've got sort of like the first year program, and you know what? The client loves you so much, we'll call you for the second year. So I've got a second year program.
Ah, yes. This is another thing I wanted to talk about. Yes, how do you keep the same client year after year? Because it's very hard for someone like me, because I do a juggling and magic show, and basically,
yours is a routine. You see.
basically that's it. I can't really do much. That's it. Unicycling. I can't really I can't really change it that much. It's still a unicycle. So year by year, it's quite hard for me to do a brand new thing. But you were able to have your first year set of games, and then if they book you for a second year, you'd have a brand new set of games. That's fantastic.
So
How many years do you have? Do you have a first and a second? Do you have a third?
So here's the rule of the thumb for me, personally speaking. I would do the first year, obviously.
Yeah.
And then because they like you, they say, you know what, come back the second year. So when they do see me again, you know, in the second year, I would go up on stage. First thing I'll do is like, you know, how many of you remember me from last year? So, you know, those who were there last year, they put up their hands.
Yeah.
And then I would say, you know, so the rest of you are new or whatever the case may be. And then I would say, you know what, we had so much of, I would set the stage for the entire event. Now, some people might say, oh, it's that same guy from last year.
Yeah.
But what I do, I buy a little insurance for myself.
Right.
I would tell them, hey, you know what, we had so much of fun last year, and I'm back again this year. Think of this event as a continuation of last year.
Right.
Because you had so much of fun last year, there was not enough time, so the committee members said, you know what, let's get Rico back again. And then I would say, this is really a continuation of things that I just couldn't do last year because there was just no time, and I'm going to do brand new stuff for you, and you know, and it works out well for me.
There you go. Yeah, I met I interviewed a guy quite recently, birthday party entertainer, Bernardo Mariano, and he has 3 totally different birthday party shows, and the first year he does the first one, the second year he does the second one, and the third year he does the third one, and the fourth year he goes back to the first one again. But as it's kids' birthday parties, by that age they're 8 or 9. they won't rehire him anyway. So it's a new audience. Yeah, so that works out fine. It's a very good idea to have a new set for a second year.
So likewise, rule of the thumb, I would do first year, I would do the second year. Now here's the thing, man. I try not to do the third year, even if you do not. It's like the third year, then you're really pushing it.
Yes, I think you're right for an MC. Yeah.
Take a break. Let somebody else do it. If they do it well, fine. If they don't do it well, you can always come back on the fourth year. And I've got a third year as well.
But you do have third year if they need it, yes.
But the third year, it gets a little thin.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be hard. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to find enough material for 1 year. I mean, that's basically your career. If you've got an MC show, if you've worked out an MC act, that's basically your career. That's what you can. That pays your rent. That's your job. And then on top of that, you've got to double it all over again to work out something for a second year. That's a lot of hard work. And then to do it for a third year, I mean, that is really quite tricky. Then you're straining the edges of what's good.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I agree. But in my case, I'm not just an MC, so I consider myself a performing MC. So I do a bit of mentalism.
Yes, I saw this on your website.
I do a bit of mind reading in between when the time permits, and if it's the right crowd.
Yeah.
If the crowd is paying attention, they're really into you, and if the intelligence level is of that caliber, then they would understand what mentalism is all about. But if you get a crowd who's all night yam saying how it is, they just want to go out and because mental is a lot. Talking it's quite serious to a certain point because there's a lot of information for you to understand when you get to the end game of the last part. So the crowd's got to be with you. So I do a bit of mentalism, a bit of mind reading. In between, I sing a couple of songs, not the full songs, but just for fun. It's like guest songs. Her name was Lola. She was a showgirl.
Sorry, you sing.
Yeah, I sing a little bit as well.
Sing some songs, singing. Yeah, singing.
Yeah, a bit of singing. So then I'll ask them a question. So I won't play the whole song. I just play half the song. I'll just sing along, and then I'll ask them a question based on that song or the artist.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think an MC of today cannot just be an MC.
Right.
You got to think of different things to do and so forth.
How long? Just for people who don't know, how long is one of these events? Is it 3 hours you'll be on stage? 2 hours?
Well, usually for, let's say, a company dinner.
Yeah.
So people will start arriving from the start. They'll start arriving at about 6 o'clock, 6:30. There'll be cocktails outside, and then the doors will open at about 7 o'clock, the ballroom doors, so people start coming in. So technically speaking, 7:40, 7:45, the event will start.
Yeah.
All the formalities, dinner will start probably 8:10, 8:15. And then everything goes on till the grand lucky draw, which is about 10:30, 10:45.
Yes.
And you would normally wrap up the evening by 10:45, 11, and that's where the party begins if they want to have disco. And the DJ takes over all the way till about 12, 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
So technically speaking, it's 7:45 to about 10:45.
So it's 3 hours of material.
Yep.
Yeah.
7:45, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, almost 4 actually.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, about 3 or 4 hours.
That's a lot of work.
So in between, correct. So in between, if you're lucky, there might be some other performance in between, like the great Ben Matthews.
Oh yeah, I used to do it. I used to be there.
So you might get a song and dance in between for you to take a break. So then you would only play the best games. Sometimes there's nothing. It's just good evening, Rico. Good night, Rico, because you gotta fill up the entire gap. So you would have your intro, you have your icebreaker, dinner begins, lucky draws, fun and game segment 1, which could be about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And then lucky draw and then fun and game segment 2, which could be another about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You would have a best dress, and then you would have a mass dance, and then the grand lucky draw. So technically, I have been on stage after the dinner at 8:20, and I only came off stage at 11 o'clock.
Wow, yeah, it's a lot of work.
That's a lot of work.
And
it's a lot. There's a lot of content involved as well.
That's my question. So I'm talking about keeping the audience interested. You have variety. So you have singing. You sing yourself. You also Where did mentalism? Where did you learn that?
Mentalism is because a friend of mine, he opened up a shop back
his
in
name.
1996 thereabout.
Give his name.
His name is Vijay, and he runs a
Sorry, I didn't hear
magic shop called Magic Castle.
Sorry. Oh yeah. I lost the name. Say it again.
Yep, his name is Vijay.
Vijay. There we go. Magic Castle.
And he runs a shop called the Magic Castle. So I used to go visit him, and he says, and he's the one who said, hey, why don't you incorporate some of this, of that, some magic? And then he showed me something that was really fascinating. It's called mentalism, which is mind reading, prediction, and that really intrigued me. I said, you know what, I can bring this on stage.
Yes, I think mentalism is fascinating because the job of being a magician is some people just are not into magic and magicians, but mentalism, although it actually is the same as any other form of magic in many ways, stage magic, it has the appearance of being real. And people find that fascinating, I think. Yeah.
Because it's got something to do with the future, you see. You're predicting something that's going to happen in the future, or whatever that happens right now. I've already written down the outcome, and you'll see it later on.
Yeah.
So that is very intriguing to the mind.
Yeah.
How do you know that? How do you know that? Like I did once in a while. I will do this. I would actually. This is back in the day. I would actually print.
Yes. Tell us a specific. Tell us a
in the
specific
newspaper.
one.
You can. There's this section called. I don't know if they still have it now. There's a section called announcements.
Yeah.
Now, what I would do is I would basically print out my prediction as part of the announcements in the newspaper.
Wow.
And this will be done like 3-4 days before.
Oh, great.
And then I would tell the managing director, can you take a look at the date? When is this date? The date is 23rd. And what's the date today? The date is 25th. Can you go to page number 50 or whatever it may be? Under announcements, what have I written? And then he would read, Rico has predicted that the number will be 45. And the number is actually 45 on the day itself.
Whoa. So you've paid to have an announcement in a newspaper?
Yeah. I paid to have an announcement in the newspaper
and
3 or 4 days ago.
3 or 4 days ago. And then you bring up today's newspaper during the show, and your prediction is there, and he reads it out. Oh, that's a lovely one. That's a really good one.
It's amazing. The crowd is stunned.
Like I said, I mentioned you're probably thinking about podcast 100. I've interviewed about 3 or 4 mentalists, so if you want to check back, you can have a look at the mentalists I've interviewed. At www.thebigbenshow.com/podcast.
TheBigBenShow.com for sure.
But I think quite a few mentalists have mentioned the same thing. What really works is the predictions. Something it could be locked in a box a week previously, and the box is opened on stage, and my goodness, he's got it right. But your ones, I haven't heard that one before. Yeah, why not? Write to the newspaper. Pay for an announcement in a newspaper. That's great. I love it.
The other thing I would do is I would mail the prediction to the boss of the company, and I'll tell him don't open it on the day. So please bring this along.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah. So he would have that envelope, and he would receive it probably about a week before.
Yeah.
And he'd bring it on the day itself, and then I'll invite the boss to come up on stage. Because nobody's going to question the boss.
Yeah.
He's the boss.
Yeah.
And I would say, okay, what number do you see there? And he would say, whatever, maybe 100 or whatever, And then I say, can you now, very slowly, like a game show, make it very dramatic, and we'll play a piece of music. Can you reveal what I sent you a week before? And he would open it up, and that same number would be inside the envelope.
Oh, I'm clapping. That's a lovely.
Awesome.
Oh, I love that. That's really good. Yeah. And we were talking about just variety. Yeah, I mean, playing stage games with a party crowd, that's fantastic. Yep. But if you're there for, like we say, 3 hours, you've got to have variety.
You must have variety. You can't keep serving the crowd the same food.
Yeah.
They want to eat different things. You might have the best of something, but then the crowd's going to say, is this guy going to do this only? Come on.
And you got
to have variety.
And you have 2, at a stretch, 3 entire nights prepared if you had to for 3 years. That's amazing. That's really good. Oh, by the way, I just remembered my other problems from just yesterday, last weekend. So I had all the technical problems with the music, the phone, the microphone's missing, and then the last problem was transport, because because I'm the kind of person who does 3 or 4 shows in one day, 3 or 4 birthday parties, or maybe one birthday party and then a stage show in a shopping centre, and then something else in the evening. So I'm travelling around in taxis, and when I'm really busy, or I have a lot of stuff to carry, I book a minivan who's very, very reliable. Because I think it's very important that you...
I remember you used to do that in Singapore to transport your unicycle.
I had Rico. He was called Rico! Same name as you!
Really?
Rico drove a London taxi cab.
A London cab, I remember that.
Yeah! He's the same name as you.
No, he wasn't called Rico, Ben. What's wrong with your memory? His name was Ringo. Like the Beatle. Ringo. Alright, let's get back.
Who drove a London taxi because it was big enough to fit my 5-foot unicycle and all my boxes inside. And that was great. And that was really good. Actually, I would recommend...
Right now you were saying you've got a van that takes you around,
actually, I'd like to go back to the tip for entertainers. If you can get a London taxi, that is the best, because the back area is big enough for you to sit in the taxi with the box in front of you and rearrange all your props and your magic tricks, so that by the time you get to the next show, it's all ready to go again. The minivan, they don't have London taxis in Hong Kong, so I've got a minivan. There is one problem with that. If I want to rearrange everything, I've got to sit in the back of the minivan, which is very uncomfortable. Like just in the, it's just like being in a locker.
Yep.
It's like being in a cupboard. So I generally just sit in the front with the driver, but then I have to get to the show and do the repacking when I get to the show. But that's another problem. So the problem was at the weekend was I had 2 shows very they were quite far apart, but I only had like 45 minutes to get from one place to the next.
Okay.
And I had a lot of equipment, so I booked my minivan. And I mean, it's just life. Sometimes there'll be a horrendous crash and a massive traffic jam. And he messaged me, "I'm sorry, I'm stuck in Kowloon," which is
right.
If you know Hong Kong, there's Hong Kong Island. And then you have to get a ferry or a tunnel. To get to Kowloon side. And he said, "I'm stuck across the water on Kowloon. I can't get there." Now, of course, this is tricky because my phone's not working, right? So I'm already losing time pressing my phone, trying to get the black screen to light up for just like 10 seconds so I can read his message. So I'm pressing the phone and finishing it lights up because he's not there, you see. I'm waiting to get... He's not there. And I'm pressing my phone and eventually my phone lights up just for like 10 seconds. It says, "I'm sorry, I'm stuck in Kowloon." It's like, oh my god. What am I going to do?
Oh man.
And there was a big queue for taxis. And there were no taxis.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no, how am I going to get to the next show? How am I going to get to the next show? But thank goodness, just a miracle, about 5 taxis turned up at the same time. About half the queue decided to wait on the other side of the road because they thought this queue was too long. And suddenly I was the first person in the queue, and a taxi came and I got to the next show. So I do the second show, that goes fine. And then I get to the third show. I've got quite a long time. I've got about an hour and 15 minutes to get to the next show, so that's fine. I just go outside, I hail a taxi, I get in the taxi, and we drive around. And this will probably make more sense to people who really know Hong Kong. I was going along something called the Tai Tam Reservoir, which is a very narrow causeway where it's pretty much single-lane traffic. And as we got over the causeway, there was suddenly a traffic jam. And we waited 5 minutes, we waited 10 minutes, we waited 15 minutes, and we were looking out, we got out of the taxi, we looked up the road, and we could see that there was a cement mixer that had got coming one way, and there was a lorry going the other way, and they just got stuck, and they couldn't pass each other. And they couldn't back up, because by now, there was a traffic jam about 1 kilometre long behind them. And so I said, what am I going to do? It's one of those situations, probably the police will arrive and they'll sort it out. But how long is it going to take? You don't know. It might take 5 minutes, in the best case scenario. It might take an hour, in which case I'll be late for the next show. I've still got 45 minutes to get to the show. So I said to the driver, look, I think we can U-turn here, okay? So how about... because nothing's coming the other way because they're stuck. We can just about make a U-turn and squeeze back. And how about we do that? and go right round Hong Kong Island. We're only about a kilometre away from my show, but if we travel right round Hong Kong Island in the other direction, an anti-clockwise circle, we can come to the show from the back, and that will take about 30 minutes. So we did that, and I got to the show on time.
Oh, right. Oh, goodness.
Do you have transport
Lucky
problems
you.
ever? But you maybe not so much, because you do one show, one night. You get to that venue, you're there, you don't have to rush off to another one, or do you?
I try to leave the house early. So, example, so the event starts at, let's say, 7:45.
Yeah.
You know, I would try to be at the venue at least 2 hours wherever possible.
Yeah.
So that would give me time for, like what you mentioned, transport. If anything happened, the car breaks down, you would still have a little bit of time to rectify your situation, right? So now, I tell you something that happened about 2 years ago. It was in the morning. It was about 7:15.
Yeah.
Now, I'm supposed to go to Dubai.
Yeah.
We're not talking about somewhere in town. I'm supposed to go to Dubai and catch a flight.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. So it's 7:15. I call a cab, the cab came and picked me up, and he says, "You're going to the airport, right?" I said, yeah. What time is your flight? So I said 7:15. My flight is at about 9 o'clock, 9:15. He says, "We might have trouble," because he showed me his GPS and it was red everywhere.
Oh no.
Because you can see the roads, right? I'm like, oh my God, what are we going to do? He goes, yeah, it's going to take, apparently there's some accident somewhere, and look at the roads. So I said, dude, I need to catch a flight.
Yeah.
He says, you should have left slightly earlier. I said, yeah, I was busy with the kids and all that.
Yeah.
I thought 7:15, airport is only about 20 minutes away from me, where I live.
Yeah.
I'll be there 7:40, bada bing, bada boom, 8 o'clock, I'm having coffee waiting for the flight, 9:15.
Yeah.
So this guy, he was a hero, really.
Yeah.
So he goes, okay, don't worry. So he managed to find, some back alley. He went through all of that, and he made his way to the airport within 45 minutes.
That's
which
amazing.
I would have completely missed a flight. So we almost reached the airport, and he looks at his phone again, and he still shows me, look, it's still jammed. And you know what? I believe me, I was panicking, and I was really sweating buckets, man. Because it's not like a show, okay, I'm like 30 minutes late. If you miss that flight, you're going to miss the show.
That's right.
And it's a different country.
That's a 7-hour flight. You've got to get there.
Exactly, you got to get there. So this guy, I was really sweating buckets. I'm like, my adrenaline is pumping. What am I going to do? And apparently it was a major accident on the TPE in Singapore. It's an expressway.
It's a motorway expressway,
Yeah, the motorway, and all the roads leading to it was all chocolate. And at 7:15, everybody's going to work. Can you imagine that? So he took another. So I find leaving slightly earlier always helps.
Yes.
You never know.
Gosh, I got a plane flight horror story. I was in.
Yep.
I just moved to Hong Kong. I was doing shows in I just started doing shows in Hong Kong, but I still had a lot of contacts in Singapore. So someone booked me for a show in Singapore, and they were willing to pay for the airfare. So I flew back to Singapore to do the show, and then the next morning I had a flight to fly back to Hong Kong for a show in Hong Kong that afternoon. I got to the airport, and my wife booked my airplane tickets because that's what she likes doing. She's very good at getting the best deal. Wives are good at that. And she'd booked my airplane tickets. So I got to the airport in Singapore about 6 a.m. And they said, "Oh, your ticket is for tomorrow. Your ticket isn't for today. Today's Sunday. Your ticket's for Monday." I was like, "What?"
What?
And I realised my wife had made a mistake. She'd booked a plane ticket for the wrong day. So I was like, I've got to be in Hong Kong in 4 hours' time to do a show in 5 hours' time. I've got to get there. So we'll waitlist you. Nothing happened. Fully booked. So, okay, now I've got 3 hours to get there. I've got to get there. Are there any other flights? And there was this new plane. What was it? The Airbus 3 something, the massive one. It had just been launched.
Oh, the 380.
Yeah,
380, right?
it had just been launched. And they said, well, you could fly business class on this flight. We still got tickets.
Oh my God!
It was like
how much?
It was a fortune, but you got to pay because you cannot miss a show if at all possible.
Agreed.
So I paid. So I ended up kind of losing money because even when I did the show, it didn't quite cover the air freight. But it was one of my first big shows.
Not at all. I can imagine.
It was one of my first big shows in Hong Kong. So I didn't want to mess up a new client. So I rushed. Yeah, I paid for the I paid the business class ticket. I got to Hong Kong. It was tight because by then I was already running late, and I didn't know my way around. And I remember hauling my massive magic box up to flight after flight of stairs because I didn't know where the lifts or the elevators were, and getting to the show. And the guy said, "Well, you are half an hour late, but we just swapped the acts around. You can go on next." So literally there was no break. I just from 6 a.m. until 2 p.m. I was just go, grab my stuff, run up the stairs, get there, do the show. That was a bit of a nightmare.
Amazing. Amazing. Horror stories, man. Everybody's got them, I tell you.
Yeah. Is there something that you carry with you to every show? One guy carries a disposable razor, so he can always have a shave straight before the show, so he doesn't look like he's just come off the street because his hair grows so fast.
I carry a smaller medical kit.
There you are.
So in the box there'd be an inhaler, just to clear your sometimes you might have phlegm there and you sound a little strange. So an inhaler always clears your ducts, I feel. I would carry Panadol. Sometimes you might have a headache. And because I've been in a situation like this and you're far out in a remote place, you're not going to get all these things. Forget about it. So you might as well carry a small little medical box. That's one thing I carry. I'll tell you something else that I carry as well. A large stapler.
What?
A large, not a small one. I used to carry a small one, but I realized it's not as effective as a large stapler.
Why do you carry a large stapler?
That's a good question. I will tell you, my man. I carry a large stapler because it is an offspring of the sewing kit.
Oh.
Sometimes you might have, as they call it in America, what's that thing?
Wardrobe malfunction.
Wardrobe malfunction.
Yes.
Right. So sometimes before you go up on stage, there might be something that will tear. You might split your pants. Forget about trying to get the thread into that needle and trying to sew your pants. Take off your pants, wherever it's torn, staple, and you are up and running.
Oh, this is brilliant!
Seconds.
This is brilliant!
Stapler.
I've been doing this career for 30 years. I'd never thought of that. That is so good. That's going in my bag.
Stapler.
That's going in my bag.
Please.
Because my costumes are always tearing. My costumes are always, because I'm running and jumping and climbing on unicycles. They're always tearing.
Yep.
And at the last minute, yesterday I was doing my corporate show for the first time in ages. So I took out my corporate costume. Of course, it had a few tears that I hadn't noticed. So I got my maid to help me sew it up. But a stapler would have been so much faster.
Of course. So a stapler is a must. So I tried out with the smaller stapler, not too effective. Because sometimes the material might be a bit too thick.
You need a really heavy-duty big stapler.
Will really get in there and it'll hold it. So all you need to do is just get through those 2 or 3 hours. That's it. And once the show is done, nobody knew what happened, man. You can properly go back and go to your tailor and he can do a nice little stitch after that.
That is brilliant. That is so good. All right, we're going to leave it there because my phone is starting to crash.
One
more thing. No. Go.
One more.
Okay.
One more thing.
More stuff.
More stuff coming in. It's not in my bag, but it's in my car.
Yeah. Something
that I always carry around, and I'll tell you what it is. And it's because of an incident happened in, I think it would probably be about 1996, 97. It was a Friday evening. Now, I'm driving around with the family and all that.
Yeah.
And then a call comes in. And the call says, Rico, what time are you reaching the ballroom?
That's happened to me once every 20 years. Yeah.
And I'll tell you what I carry on. And I said, what? They said, no, the event. I said, no, it's next week. They said, no, it's this week. I said, oh my God, I think your booking staff gave me the wrong date.
Yeah.
And they said, but it's tonight. I said, okay, so it's the same venue and all that. What I carry is I always carry a suit. a shirt, and leather shoes in the car.
That's amazing.
So I'm able to rock and roll within 30 seconds or wherever I am. I can go to that ballroom straight away.
Just U-turn the car, get into your suit, jump on stage, and you can do something.
Wife and kids, you know what? Stop at the nearest taxi stand, put them on a cab, off you go. I'm driving to the next wherever ballroom is supposed to be. Get that little package out. It's a vacuum package.
Yeah.
You know, open it up, wear my suit, wear my leather shoes, and I'm ready to rock and roll.
Oh, that is brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean that is wow. That's so good. I'll just let you know my two variations on that.
Yeah.
Yes, for me the worst one is if I have a show on a Monday.
Yep.
Because I'm normally very busy Saturday and Sunday. So if there's a show on a Monday, psychologically I might forget it because I finish Sunday, I'm exhausted, and 99.9% of the time Monday is a day off, and I might forget there's a show on a Monday. So what I now do, and I stick it in my bedroom, I stick it in my office, is every week I print out an A4 sheet of paper, or write out an A4 sheet of paper with my with the next 8 days of shows.
Oh wow!
So it goes from Monday to Sunday, and then it goes to Monday as well. So I just have to turn my head, and I'll see Monday there's a show. And it happened right last week. I had the show on a Monday, and it wasn't until Sunday night I looked at my piece of paper and said, "Oh yeah, there is a show on a Monday." Because once 20 years ago, the worst happened. I finished my Sunday, and I got the phone call. It's like, "Where are you? The show's starting in 10 minutes."
Man. Right.
Yeah. So never again. But your way, having the suit in your car, absolutely perfect. Wouldn't work for me because I have too many props because I'm a juggler, magician, unicyclist. The only thing I can do is when I finish a show, I go back to my office and I repack my box. So at least it's ready to go. So if someone calls me at the last moment, I just have to go to my office, grab my box, and it is ready to go. But yes, it's the same sort of theory and the same problem as different solutions, but the same idea. Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, would you have like 2 boxes or 3 boxes ready, or?
Okay. So
because what if you lose 1 box? How do you handle that?
Oh, if you lose a box, yeah. So because I've done this show and this work for about 25, 30 years. Yeah. I have 2 boxes. Yeah. And so for example, at the moment I'm doing a long-running show at a carnival every day. That's where I'll be going in a few minutes' time. And I've got 1 box of equipment that just stays at the carnival for that show. Yep. And then I got another box in my office, which I'll take to the birthday parties. So I do have 2 boxes. Yeah, another good point. Yeah. So if something goes missing, I lose the box, I have got backup.
Always have backup. That is a rule in life.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Rico Smith. You can contact him at... Yes. Best way to contact you?
Yep. So it's contact, CONTACT, at show, SHOW, HOST.com.
It's a great website. It's a good name. Great name.
Yep. Or simply find me on Facebook under Rico Smith, and you'll see me. I'm bald-headed guy like this. There we go.
And you can contact me at thebigbendshow.com. Stay tuned. We will put some more stuff up next month. All right. Take care. All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yep. This could be the after show. I might add this in as an after show. There's some good stuff here. Yeah. In order to make your career longer, there's going to be times when the market will get flooded with cheaper acts. But I find if you stick around long enough, there are downturns and then there are upturns. There was downturns when there was SARS. Do you remember SARS? And there were no shows for like
2003.
That's right.
God.
SARS, of course, was a terrible airborne virus, severe acute respiratory syndrome. So nobody wanted to group together for an event or a party. And for a few months, people like me and Rico, no work.
But if you have enough, you've got to have enough money in your bank or alternative sources of income to survive those lean times, because things will pick up again. Yeah.
Agree. I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
You must have money to sustain when there's a dip.
Yeah. You know JC Sum? Do you remember JC Sum works?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
He talks about I've interviewed him. He talks about an income triangle. So one corner of the triangle might be income from shows.
Yep.
One corner might be income from sort of show-related things like selling books or something about magic. Yeah. But the third corner.
Yep.
Is alternative sources of income. It might be rental from housing if you can buy a house and rent it out, or something else. So if one of those corners collapses, like the performing side, at least you have other sources, because we live hand to mouth every day. If we don't get a booking that week, we don't make much money. So you need to have backups. Yeah.
Agreed. You know that triangle thing. There's a different saying, and what we normally say is, don't put your eggs in one basket.
Yes.
You know? So put your eggs in different baskets, because you don't know which basket is going to fall and that eggs are going to crack. Yeah. At least you got a few more. You know?
Yeah.
Same principle, man. Right.
Sure, maybe after 20 years the market changes and it's not so good for you. But who knows, maybe after 30 years the market will change again. And if you're still around, you're ready to take it up. The good will survive.
That's the reason why I've started to incorporate a lot of other things that I can do. So I've started giving value to the client. So the salespeople will go out and say, oh, there's this guy called Rico. He's not just an MC. He can do some mentalism. You know, he's got good crowd interaction, and he can, he'll sing a couple of songs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So the client will say, wow, this guy, I'm paying for this amount and he's adding all these kind of things. As to an MC who says, I'm just going to go there and conduct your formalities and play some games.
Yes.
And what else can you do? No, I'm just an MC. So I consider myself a performing MC. I'm evolving all the time.
Yes. You're learning new stuff. You can do more than just
And likewise in your trade as well. You should always evolve and into something new. Hey, where are you at? Where am I at?
Yeah.
You're supposed to be here. Where? The ballroom. Fuck. The show is supposed to start. So at least I can rock and roll straight away into that ballroom, man.
Yeah. I'm just stuck in traffic. I'll be there in a minute. And you've got all your stuff there.
Brother.
They might not even know. They might not even know that you've made a mess up.
Exactly.